Justin A.W. Blair here with another Deep Space Nine Star Trek Deep Space Nine book review. Vengeance. Dafydd Hugh, number 22 in the numbered series of Star Trek Deep Space Nine novels from the 1990s. I am nearing the end, friends. Only a few more left to go. It's been quite the journey, quite the odyssey, quite the trek. Vengeance, what should I say? The good, the bad, the ugly. Dafydd Hugh, I think it's David, son of Hugh, maybe Welsh, from my understanding. A Welsh name. I think he's half Jewish, half Welsh. If Dafydd is David, perhaps that would make sense. I feel like I read that on Wikipedia. Not sure. Regardless, I will say this for Mr. Hugh. Probably the most distinct voice in almost all, or perhaps all at least, of the Deep Space Nine Star Trek novels. He has a voice. Sheckley also had a voice. It was a very comedic voice. It was distinct also. Both those authors stand out in doing something different with the books. Now, this is his second Deep Space Nine book. He did, off the top of my head, I think it was number 5. And it was called Kill 'Em All or something. I don't remember what it was called. It was called something. Look it up. Put it in the comments. Who cares? Might come back to me. It was called... can't remember. But anyway, it was very interesting. It was not Station... I'm in a Station Rage. I'm on the iced tea, and I'm hyped up, and I can't remember the name of the book. Let me look. I'll look. I don't care. I'll do it right now. I won't even edit this out. Raw and live. It's not really live, but I don't like long commercials in the middle of a YouTube video, so I'll get to the point quick. My own novel, written by me, Justin A.W. Blair, entitled The Haunt on the Island of Esmer, is out, available on Amazon. You can buy it in ebook or paperback format. It is inspired by Malazan, A Song of Ice and Fire, and The Black Company. Epic novels in that vein. Take a moment, check it out. It was Fallen Heroes. I should have known. It was number 5. Mr. Hugh wrote that as well. Now, I have been on a secret mission, contacting all of the Star Trek Deep Space Nine authors with a few questions about the process, the editing process, what it was like to write these books. And I am nearing completion on that project. I have gotten an overwhelming amount of responses, actually. Very, very pleased. Very kind and polite words. Some lengthy responses, some less so, from probably at least 10 to 12 of the authors. However, I have not been able to track down Mr. Hugh, and I would love to talk to him. When you're doing this kind of, is it forensics? I don't know. I feel like it's forensics. It's detective work when you're trying to find people on the internet from the 1990s. A lot of AOL addresses when you're doing that. A lot of AOL addresses. You really see the conglomeration of the email with the Gmail these days. Used to be a infinite diversity of email address handles or whatever at the end. Not so anymore. I would love to ask some questions to Mr. Hugh because I find his writing interesting. There are highs and lows to it. Now, another thing this novel does differently is it's a little bit longer than the standard, and we've seen that in the later numbered novels. It actually doesn't do the A plot, B plot structure. I think that is a mistake for this, unfortunately, because what we essentially have is another long fight siege on Deep Space Nine. So there's really only one plot. That plot is that the Klingons have decided to take over the station, but they are not killing anybody while they do it. They're not really the Klingons officially. It's like this guy is crazy Klingon, who also knew Worf in his childhood. And also Kern is there, even though I thought Kern was going to be a big part of it, but Kern is just kind of there. Kern, if you remember, in a really actually quite good episode, but a strange episode that I have some issues with in terms of Federation policy. The Deep Space Nine episode where Worf meets his brother, I think it's his brother, his half brother, or whatever, and it's after Worf has pissed off Gowron, and so his house has been dissolved, and so his brother or half brother or whatever, he's down on his luck. He feels like a loser. He shows up on Deep Space Nine, gets like a job in security, but he can't really hack it. And I think it starts out with him asking Worf to kill him, and then Worf stabs him to death. But then they bring him back, and they're like, Worf, that's really bad. You can't stab people to death, even though it's part of your culture. And Worf's like, sorry, but I thought it's kind of cool, right? I'm a Klingon, do that. They're like, no, you can't do that. But then at the end of the episode, they just erase his Kern's mind entirely, just completely erase his identity and personality. And they're like, this is okay, though. This is not a problem. And then Worf's like, all right, I guess it's a solution to it. Anyway, Kern makes a comeback in this, but unfortunately doesn't get a lot of stage time. Would have enjoyed that. I thought that actually could have been a point of really good tension, because the station is taken over in order to secure the wormhole for the Klingons, because the Klingons are afraid of the Dominion, the Jem'Hadar, and they're like, Federation, you're not really getting it done, so we're gonna like kind of take this over, but do it in a way where no one gets killed. And then Worf pretends to go along with it in order to help not have it happen. And that's basically the entire book. It's like following characters around that happen to still be on the station as they come up with ideas for how to kill the Klingons while the Klingons don't kill them, which is another really kind of weird, lopsided part of this, which is that it just doesn't actually work very well, honestly. Like, they cut off the gravity and they cut off all the air, and they watch a lot of Klingons just die, and they kind of don't really. It's that problem with Star Trek and violence. I mean, like, Bashir is kind of like, oh, I feel kind of bad. I'm a doctor and I'm killing all these people. Maybe I should stop and help some of them that are dying. And he's like, nah, maybe I shouldn't, because we gotta, free the station or whatever. It just doesn't feel right in terms of tone, really. Tonally, it does not work. And there's quite a bit of that. And again, we have this situation where there is violence, and the Klingons who are occupying the station have basically said, have literally tell them, we're not going to kill you or any prisoners, so because we don't actually want the Federation to get mad at us, even though that kind of doesn't make any sense. Like, they're taking over the entire station. Like, they're obviously going to be upset, but they're like, we're trying to do it that way. And then Bashir, O'Brien, Worf, Jake, Quark, Rom, the rest. Sisko's off doing something else with Jadzia Dax, and I think Kira also. They're like trying to figure out why this happened, or something. They get led on a wild goose chase out through the wormhole. It's just a way to get them off the station. It doesn't lead to anything or do anything at all. Extraordinarily boring, actually, and pointless. Should just put them all on vacation or something. It would have been the same difference. But yeah, that's all this book is. It's we get more of Mr. Hugh's obsession with making Miles O'Brien sound like a leprechaun, which happened a lot in the previous book that he wrote. He uses the word Donnybrook at one point, which is a great word. I'm going to give it to Hugh that I really do like that word. That word, if I recall, and I didn't look it up, I promise, but I remember it's like a SAT word. It's a place, either a village or a river or something in Ireland, where there was this big fight, and then it just became a noun to mean a big fight, from what I remember. But really not something probably Miles O'Brien would use. At one point, he starts talking about the wee folk on page 48. I'm not going to find it and read it for you. It's unnecessary. The author seems to really, really, really put the Celtic in the O'Brien, and he goes overboard, and it's kind of almost funny, but it's not really actually right in terms of characterization. There's some stuff about Worf, how he went to the Khitomer Military Academy before age 6, before, I guess, the Khitomer Massacre happened, and then he was transferred to Earth. I don't know about that being official canon. I didn't look it up. One thing he does do, which is almost abrasive, but it is pretty good writing, is he makes the characters, the main characters, seem kind of irritated with one another and slightly suspicious of one another. He does it to an extent to which you don't really see in Star Trek that much. I mean, obviously, part of the plot is that Worf goes over to the Klingon side, and so Jake in particular and O'Brien are like, man, that Klingon, he's a traitor. But they do it in a lot of, he does it in a lot of smaller ways also. On the ship with Cisco and Kira and Dax and all that, he makes them, it is kind of realistic where people just working together in an environment like that would sometimes be kind of irritated with the idiosyncrasies of their crewmates, even if they get along with them. And it seems real. It's tonally a little bit off. I think you can do some of that. There is more kind of the established relationships of irritation, like between Quark and Odo, that tension early on between Kira and Cisco. I guess you could say between Kira and Bashir to a degree. Those are kind of like the established clashes that we'll see. O'Brien and Bashir also earlier on, they become friends. You can see that he kind of expands it out and makes people irritated with one another, everybody. And it's actually kind of good writing. Like it seems more like a novel, but it doesn't quite fit, but it's good. He also does a few really clever things. So at one point because at this point in the show, Jake is a writer and an author. And so he has Jake fantasize about a story where the Deep Space Nine station gets taken over by faceless aliens, and then there's a bloodbath, and that's basically the plot of his first book, number 5. And he's putting that in Jake's mind as if he's fantasizing about writing the book that Hugh actually did write. I thought that was really quite good. He handles Worf, the character, really well, and he actually puts some tension there internally because there's some part of Worf that almost thinks he does want to join the Klingons and taking over the station. There's an interesting thing he does. It's a little complicated. So Worf is thinking to himself, and there's a reference to the weakness of the Federation from the episode where Worf goes to Risa and becomes an eco-terrorist or whatever, and turns off the weather machine. You'll know that if you've seen it. I can't remember if that's Deep Space Nine or The Next Generation. I'm pretty sure it's must be Deep Space Nine, right? I think he goes with Dax, so yeah, it would be Deep Space Nine. Actually, an enjoyable episode, and a memorable one. So he referenced that episode, and that's good. And he uses that internally. We're hearing what Worf is thinking to himself, and Worf is thinking about the weakness of the Federation. And he's thinking about the idea of a hero with regards to how can he himself, Worf, be a hero, either within the context of the Klingon Empire or the Federation. And he does something interesting here. This goes to the main theme of Star Trek, which is an absolute emphasis on individuality, which is a very older liberal idea, which has undergone some transformations, let's say, since the 1990s, and maybe is not as often seen today, but we won't get into that. But Worf thinks to himself, for me to be a hero, I can't actually be a part of the Klingon Empire because that would require my will to be subservient to the Emperor, who is Galron at this point. Sorry, Galron's not the Emperor. Galwan. Let me start over for a second. Get me out of here. Reset. Worf is thinking to himself, and he thinks that the Klingon Empire can't actually give him the space to become a hero because his will would have to be subservient to Galron, who is not the Emperor, but the leader of the High Council, I believe. Check my lore in the comments, if you will. And it says the Federation, though they are weak, gives him the space and the individuality to become a hero. And that's why he prefers the Federation. So it's ultimately this extreme individuality and the space to be an individual within the Federation that is alluring to Worf and actually bounds him more so than his honor, at least in the few paragraphs thought process we get from Worf in the book. I point that out because it's good. I mean, it's good writing. That's what should be done in these books. We actually get an insight into a character. We know the character, we know the circumstances. If we've watched Star Trek, which obviously we have, if we're reading 20 books in Deep Space Nine, and if you're listening to this, it's a really good elaboration of a character without breaking anything about the character, but expanding it. So well done on that. I mean, overall, it an editor needed to deal with this. The last 5,000 words lag hard. It's just they continue to fight on the station, and that's it, and it just ends. I mean, it's actually extraordinarily flat. It's not done well. It's 5,000 words too long, and there's no point to the last, 30 pages. It's just more of the same. Nothing actually gets done. Nothing is revealed. Nothing is brought to a conclusion that couldn't be brought to a conclusion earlier because it's just more fighting. There's a good scene between Worf and the guy whose name escapes me right now, who is leading the Klingon invasion. But again, very odd to miss that relationship and to somehow put that tension between Worf and the character of Kurn. It would have been great to put something in there where he had to tell Kurn his real identity, which would have been really shattering to him, or do something with that, but just nothing was done with that, which I found odd. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there because I have a lot of good things to say about this one. I actually enjoyed it. I mean, again, really need to be cut towards the end, but it's a recommendation for me. It is. It's up there. It has its problems for sure, and it does lag in places. And there's Leprechaun Miles O'Brien, but it's distinctive. It has something going for it. It's not just the run-of-the-mill Star Trek Deep Space Nine. I'm glad they take chances, here and there, or took chances here and there to bring those stories. Again, I would have preferred a little bit more editing, but that is what it is. So, few more to go in the Deep Space Nine novel series. Stay tuned. Leave in the comments anything you would like to leave, any sort of commentary you would enjoy leaving for me. Please do that. Like and subscribe. Stay tuned, and we'll see you next time.